10 Ways Your Smartphone is Ruining Your Life. The cell phone. Everybody has one nowadays. Most can't survive without these gadgets. Really awful that we as a whole appear to adore them somewhat to an extreme. As we've talked about already, it's practically similar to we're living in a cell phone zombie plague. If it was a choice and we didn't dispose of our telephones each other year, we may very well with them. Can anyone explain why we as a whole use them so much, yet are so careless in regards to the damage they can cause in our lives? When's the last time you had a good night's sleep? How commonly have you hit the hay, just to get your telephone and begin checking the news, messages, or online networking? Or then again, perhaps you need to endure one final shot of that addictive game you found the other day? All those applications are taking rest from us. At the point when we hit the hay, our telephones ought to also. In any case, that never occurs. As we lie there, we hear the sweet alarm call of that small unassuming gadget. Before we know it, our cell phones are back in charge and engaging us with information. That's not every one of the a cell phone does, however. No, it needs something other than data. It needs an approach to impact us and push back the sleepiness and the night. By sparkling only somewhat blue light from its screen, it can smother melatonin and invigorate our cerebrums. Presently we don't feel tired any longer and can give more consideration to our phones. With such extra center, we can truly get into that game and get some adrenaline moving through our frameworks. Or on the other hand, we can peruse those messages and feel the pressure from our associates revealing to us exactly what new bad dreams are traveled our way, grinding away tomorrow. Even when we're finished with our telephones, all that adrenaline or stress makes our brains too occupied to even consider thinking about rest. So we lie in bed exhausted. In the long run, the fatigue is excessively, so we return to our cell phones. After a short time, it's an ideal opportunity to get up and start one more day. Friends and family don't want to compete for our attention. It's known as phubbing. Concentrating on our cell phones as opposed to connecting impractically with our friends and family is a major issue. Our cell phones should unite individuals and make the world more connected. But here and there, it might unite an inappropriate people at an inappropriate time. While we are occupied with interfacing with associates, companions on the opposite side of the world, or that obscure adversary we are as of now smashing, we are inaccessible from the individuals in a similar state with us. When our friends and family need to interface with us yet can't pull us away from our telephones, they're upset. In the event that we can't give the individuals in our connections the time and consideration they merit, they are legitimately disappointed. Everybody's relationship fulfillment endures, and our friends and family will regularly feel desirous of our smartphones. If along these lines, our connections won't be solid. Besides, on the off chance that we can't pry ourselves away from our telephones sufficiently long to notice and fix these issues, by what means can our human connections endure? Before we know it, our associations with our cell phones will be the main significant ones we have left. We can't actually talk to someone these days. Long back, individuals would collaborate with one another through eye-to-eye correspondence. With the closeness and bonds created by that kind of social contact, individuals had the option to interface with one another and assemble solid relationships. Over time, innovation has become a go-between in our discussions, regardless of whether through messages, instant messages, self-checkout machines, or internet-based life. In such a significant number of circumstances, individuals don't legitimately speak with one another anymore. The utilization of cell phones has been connected to forlornness and modesty in people. It's intense when you are forlorn and pine for collaborations with others, yet you are excessively modest to really go out and make those contacts. An investigation of 414 college understudies in China demonstrated that the more forlorn and modest an individual was, the more probable he was to be dependent on his cell phone. The Joneses aren't just the people on our street anymore. Ever been via web-based networking media? Ever observed all the excellent, all-around flawless minutes that individuals post? All the spots they visit and cool toys that they buy? There's a familiar adage about the need to stay aware of the Joneses, customarily those in our neighborhoods whom we use as a benchmark for the social class we need to maintain. The Joneses have a glossy, new extravagance vehicle? What will individuals think about my 10-year-old vehicle with a touch of rust crawling up the entryway? They are hosting an expand get-together for their kid total with fun stronghold? How would I ensure that my child doesn't consider me to be a disappointment at his next gathering on the off chance that I can't manage the cost of that? Unfortunately, cell phones and the internet have extraordinarily extended our neighborhoods. Rather than simply taking a gander at our neighbors each time we leave or get back home, our cell phones are letting us peer into the lives of several companions all around the world. Every time we open our telephones, we are welcomed with new posts demonstrating all the stunning things happening to individuals around the globe. At that point we turn upward and see that our existence doesn't coordinate what's on the telephone. Tragically, this prompts obligation, stress, and gloom when we accept that we can't stay aware of every other person. FOMO along with keeping up with the Joneses is FOMO, fear of missing out. This is when we see people doing or getting something new or exciting. It electrifies us, and we want to get in there with everyone. There's a fear that if we don't do it now, the opportunity will be gone. This concern can lead us to make impulse purchases and accept debt just so we are included in the experience of having this shiny new thing. These days, digital technology through smartphones constantly shows us shiny new objects that we can be a part of. The people and companies making these things are mastering how to foster the feeling of FOMO and make their products or services viral. All of this can lead to reckless spending on unnecessary things. Then we feel depressed when we see the next shiny thing but realize we can no longer borrow enough money to grab it. It's becoming the most expensive member of our household. Remember the days when you'd stroll into a mobile phone store, pursue fundamental talk and text administration, and get a free telephone? Those days appear to be a distant memory. Presently it's everything about talking us into the most recent contraption that we can't survive without and that we'll be updating in a year. Smartphones cost us such a lot of cash. All things considered, a cell phone in North America is $567. Only for the telephone. Remember that we need a decent case to secure the telephone, protection if the case bombs us, chargers all over the place, and paid applications to make those telephones much more useful. Phones increment in cost at a pace of around 12% a year. In 2008, the iPhone sold for $499 and, in late 2018, the XS Max sold for $1,099. In the event that costs keep on slanting toward that path, we could be taking a gander at spending over $5,000 for an iPhone 20 years from now. Now how about we talk administration? That fundamental talk and text bundle we used to appreciate years back just won't cut it now. Presently we need boundless information, as well. Each one of those applications we purchase are information hungry. We by and large go through around $80 per month for that. Do we even remember facts anymore? How ordinarily has this transpired? You're with a gathering of individuals, and somebody poses an inquiry. Nobody knows the appropriate response, so everybody whips at their cell phones to see who can discover the appropriate response first. Somebody hollers it out, gets the credit for the best Google aptitudes existing apart from everything else, and everybody proceeds onward. In no time, everybody is on an alternate subject and is totally overlooking the response to the prior question. In the past, finding solutions was work. We expected to discover and plan time with a specialist, go to the library and read a book, or test and make sense of it for ourselves. This work left an enduring impact on our brains and made the appropriate response difficult to overlook. Nowadays, data is so handily acquired that discovering it is not, at this point, an adventure. 7. Where we used to depend on ourselves and those with whom we have connections to recall things, we presently have our cell phones with internet access to deal with it for us. What occurs, however, when we are isolated from our cell phones and they are not there to help us when we need the data? Would we be able to read a map or drive anywhere from memory? At the point when a few of us have to go to a spot we've never been or someplace we don't go frequently, our initial step is to pull out our cell phones to get turn-by-turn headings. A distant memory are the times of building a psychological guide from past understanding and figuring out how to discover places through our own ability to know east from west. Considerably longer gone are the times of opening a paper guide to attract a course to where we need to go. Learning new courses and how to explore on our own forms spatial maps in our minds. We comprehend the separations between places, where they are comparable to one another, and how to move starting with one spot then on to the next. We gain the capacity to take a gander at our general surroundings and effectively plan our movements. Unfortunately, with turn-by-turn bearings consistently accessible through our cell phones, these spatial maps are frequently not very much assembled. We are centered around our telephones as opposed to deciphering our general surroundings. Since we realize that the bearings will consistently be accessible to us later on, we are far less inclined to recollect them all alone. We really can be afraid of losing access to our phones. Phobia is the dread of losing access to our cell phones, whether through dead batteries, loss of sign, or a loss of the whole telephone itself. Examination uncovered 4 fundamental sources that feed this dread: powerlessness to impart, lost connectedness, loss of access to data, and lost convenience. Basically, we're dependent. Our telephones give us access to friends and family and answers to every one of our inquiries. These gadgets additionally evacuate such a significant number of detours whenever we need. Losing those capacities prompts fears. We are all on our own. It's getting genuine. 38% of studied American young people said they didn't figure they can live one day without their cell phones. 71% said the equivalent regarding 7 days. We just don't have time to get anything done anymore. Do you ever feel like you simply don't have time any longer? Like the world has become so bustling that it's difficult to keep up? What amount do you utilize your smartphone? We are for the most part genuinely joined to our cell phones. Those little gadgets are acceptable at grabbing our consideration, ensuring they are never a long way from us, and keeping us returning regularly for any updates they may offer. Perhaps our battles within the board of time all beginning with our cell phones. Continually getting every one of those little updates from our telephones and afterwards sitting tight and seeking after the following update discharges a touch of dopamine in our minds. This makes us glad and energized and furthermore keeps us returning for more. 10. Looking for those hits of dopamine. We wind up investing more energy than we understand on our telephones when we could be dealing with every one of those different things we never appear to possess energy for.